Okay, since everyone is here and it's 7:30, let me start a little bit of start now by sharing a little bit about Founders Diary and our partners. So welcome everyone. This is our 18th episode. Thank you for joining us. And before we begin the show, please allow me to introduce you to our amazing partners. So we have several amazing partners. There are Amazon Web Service. There's Uptown Service Office. They are located in Plaza Mutiara, Mega Kuningan. They provide business solution for corporate and individual who needs private office, co-working space, meeting room, event space, and virtual office. And there's also Payroll Boss, which is a cloud-based human resource information system, a software or apps that simplify all HR administrative tasks. We are also supported by MICTI, Indonesia Digital Creative Industry Community, which is a non-profit organization function as a gathering place for all people who pay attention to the development of digital creative industries in Indonesia. MICTI was established on December 16, 2008. We are also supported by Amicom Business Park, which is an incubator based in Jogja. They are so according to them, they are one of the coolest incubator in Jogja. We're also supported by Chakap, and today we are also live at Chakap app. Chakap itself is a startup that provides two-way interactive online learning between the teacher and the students by video and text. Other than having an online language learning, Chakap is also providing education as a service for some of the education institution and government as well. They can be found on Google Play Store and App Store. We are also supported by mTarget. They are a marketing automation tool in Indonesia. They help business become more personal with their customers, from gathering lead generation to customer retention. It can be completed on a simple and easy to use mTarget platform. mTarget products are designed to optimize marketing activities by seeking an economic side compared to conventional methods. Since founded on October 2016, mTarget have been used and trusted by thousands of companies from various industries and scale throughout Indonesia and Southeast Asia. So that's all about our great partners. Without any further ado, over to you, moderators.
Thank you, Natasha. So welcome to everyone to our 18th episode, where we'll be talking about micro and small businesses in Indonesia digital economy. For those of you who are new to the Founders Diary webinar, the reason why we have this webinar series is because we understand that building a company can be a lonely journey. While there are definitely joys of entrepreneurship, there are also significant challenges. In our Founders Diary series, we ask founders about what their days look like and reflect on what they discover during the process. So today I will moderate the webinar with my twin brother, Ardi Setiadharma. We co-founded our own company back in 2008. We started as a telecommunication infrastructure, and right now we already starting 2013. We also invested in tech companies in Indonesia. So today we have two amazing speakers. The first one is Krishnan Menon, co-founder of BukuKas. Did I say it right, your name, Krishnan? Krishnan Menon? You're still muted.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah.
Okay, co-founder of BukuKas. A little bit of BukuKas. BukuKas is a financial technology startup that helps Indonesian MSME merchants manage their financial flows, such as monitoring sales, profit, and receivables, more effectively with digital bookkeeping through an easy-to-use mobile application. It can be downloaded on a smartphone. With BukuKas, MSMEs merchants only need to input their transactions while the application do all the calculation. Hence, errors can be avoided and time can be saved. And the second amazing speaker is Hiro Kiga, co-founder of Wallex. A little bit of Wallex. Wallex is a B2B FX and cross-border payments platform with license in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Indonesia. currently operating out of the latter two. In less than 2 years, Wallex has processed over $1 billion in gross transaction value. Offerings include FX solutions to convert in 40 currencies and payments to over 180 countries. So without further ado, I would like to invite Krishnan and Hiro. Krishnan, please introduce yourself, just a bit of your background.
Yeah.
I know about your previous startup. Maybe I'll just
Yeah.
tell about it a little bit.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to share all of the stories, good and bad. Yeah. So my background, I'm originally from India. I'm a chemistry graduate out of all things. Don't ask me why or how. I thought I was good at that back then. And I've been doing startups from very early on. So I probably had India's first food delivery startup, but people were still on Nokia N72. So we were fully web based, and we had no idea how to make it work, and it failed. I've been in Indonesia for the last 7.5 years, probably 8 years now, and I came to set up Lazada as one of the earlier guys. I was an intern in Lazada. Became full-time and stuff later. I had a stint with a company called Freecharge. We were actually, Freecharge was like Go Pulsa and Go Deals combined. And back in 2013, when there was no Gojek, we were trying to do that here after Lazada, but again, we're too broke to do it. So we ended up working with that company because they started doing it for them. And later, I started for Belio, which is it's a furniture e-commerce company with some amazing co-founders. And mid last year, I left Belio to start BukuKas. BukuKas is a concept of solving a very old problem with a different DNA and a different approach. And the old problem is that bookkeeping or accounting is there in every single business, be it Indonesia, be it anywhere in the world. But the problem is all the tools out there are too complicated for people to use. And we tackle this problem in a different way so that millions and millions of people can use it. So that's what we do. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Krishnan.
So yeah, I guess I'll go. Yeah, thanks to Ardi and Arya for having me here. Brief background of myself. So I started in banking. I was a developer there. I worked there for about 4 or 5 years in Australia. And then I moved to Singapore. I joined Gree Ventures. So now it's called Strive in 2012, like early days of like e-commerce. I think ad tech was a big thing back then. Travel was starting up as well. So really like the nascent stages of the kind of internet industry, if you say, of this region, right? I mean, one of the first deals we worked on was Prasetia. Bukalapak was one of the deals that I worked on as well, and it's crazy to see how the country or the city itself has kind of changed or been influenced to change with all these growing startups, right? Back then, you wouldn't see like a Tokopedia tower or a GoWork tower or the different kinds of payment options when you walked into a convenience store. Now they're everywhere. So it's great for me, at least, to see that evolution of how startups are really shaping the city and even more so the country. Then I moved on to a kind of Korean startup, did something similar, investments, acquisitions around the region. So I was always on the kind of investor side, VC side, when I first moved here. And I got to the point where like working with all these ambitious founders, I thought to myself, like, who am I to give them advice, right? How much value can I add to them? And made it to a challenge to myself that, okay, if I were to ever go back into VC, right, that I would do something on my own. And my current co-founder, Jody, I've known him since I moved to Singapore. He had this idea of creating like a digital currency exchange wallet, right? Because there's tourists coming in and out of Singapore. So that was the initial concept of Wallex, right? To make currency exchange easier, hence the name Wallet Exchange. But the more we talk to people, the more we realize that, hey, this is actually a bigger problem in the B2B space. Why? Because businesses have recurring payment needs, right? Not only are they slapped with high FX rates, expensive fees, that the banks charge on every overseas payment, they also got to worry about like FX risk and all that more deeper kind of FX related stuff. Hence, we decided to sort of start off Wallex addressing the B2B market. So in quick summary, as Arya mentioned, we provide FX and cross-border solutions to companies, right? Jadi kita bantu perusahaan transfer uang ke luar negeri ya. Kalau mungkin bayar supplier kayak gitu, kita bisa support 40 mata uang dan transfer ke 180 negeri. So this is just for Natasha because she didn't think I spoke bahasa. Yeah. So yeah, that's Wallex and my background in brief.
Okay, thank you, Hiro. No, but from what I understand, you grew up in Indonesia, right? And you went to
I grew up in Jakarta. My dad is Indonesian. My mom is Japanese.
And you went to JIS, right?
I went to JIS. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Hiro. So let's just go straight to the first question. How was the journey in finding your first product market fit in the MSME market? Let's start with Hiro.
For us, it was pretty difficult actually, because when it comes to handling people's money, you're entrusting the other party to make sure that you transfer your money that it reaches the beneficiary, right? And us being a new player, it was extreme. I think it was very challenging to convince our initial set of clients to entrust their money with us. So we started off with friends and family, and then I guess back then the only thing we could do really good was customer service, right? And it was good. It was a good timing that I had my first kid back then, because we had this one customer who would randomly WhatsApp on at 12 midnight, 1 a.m. and I would be up feeding my kids, so I would answer her. And then one of the feedback she gave was that, I moved over to you guys because Hiro answered my messages from at 1 a.m. Right? So that's, I think, how we built the initial set of customers, targeting friends and family and providing extremely good service, right? So that they would spread their words, so that they would become promoters of our products. And I think that's how we initially started off acquiring the first set of customers. And then once we got our kind of initial licenses, 2 licenses, Singapore, Indonesia, investment from CCV, then we started to leverage that credibility. Hey, we're licensed in MAS, we got a license in BI. We're probably one of the few handful fintech companies that have both Singapore and Indonesia, invested by the VC arm of the bank. And I mean, we just kind of played out the cards there. And from then on, we started to gain a little bit more traction on being able to onboard customers outside of the initial pool of customers. Yeah, but it was definitely challenging, I would say. Yeah.
As a remittance, it's also important to have many corridors, right? And probably have partners for the other corridors as well, so that you can rebalance the remittance.
Absolutely.
Did you initially have problem with those partnerships?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in the beginning, it was of course, it's very new for us as well, right? We didn't know what corridors were going to be big, what currencies was going to be the major ones. So it took us a little bit of trial and error. And as we sort of understood our customer transactions, we wanted to at least optimize the corridors that had the highest demands. So then we started to look for partners on the other side of the flow for those specific corridors, right? We couldn't do everything at once. So we decided to kind of pick and choose the ones at least we wanted to get it right, or as I mentioned, optimize. Yeah.
So I would imagine, because you need to satisfy a set, or I would say one kind of customer first, right? Just to show the product market fit. You would have a very strong corridor. How did you choose in the beginning?
So we looked at, I mean, it was like just a quick sector scan of where the biggest origins of imports for Indonesia are, right? Especially in Asia, US, Europe. So this is public data. We just looked at the kind of import-export segments of Indonesia. And then we identified that, okay, from the US, they're importing this much. From this country, they're importing this much. So there must be a lot of importers in Indonesia. They are sending money to Japan, sending money to US, Europe. So that's how we kind of try to do the go-to market strategy. Just do a quick Google search, import barang ini dari mana, and so forth, and then we'll see a list of companies. And I guess another set of customers, I forgot to mention this, that really worked out well for us was Indonesian startups. Krishnan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure your entity is in Singapore, right? So a lot of Indonesian startups, and 99% they're backing with OCBC.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, these Indonesian startups are raising money in Singapore, but they have to bring their funds back, and not only that, they have to pay their vendors like AWS, whatever, back out. So once we acquire one startup, we get to kind of tap into the multiple flows, right? Singapore to Indonesia to other countries. So I think that was also another good set of customers that we targeted, because of my background. I was in VC. I just kind of went out there, knocked on doors. Hey, does any of your portfolio companies need to use us? So forth. So that's another kind of way how we identify corridors that we wanted to optimize. Yeah.
I see. Well, Prasetia is also a happy customer of Wallex.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hiro. How about you, Krishnan?
Yeah, so I'd also reiterate that product market fit is always difficult, I guess, unless you're very, very lucky. We thought we would be very lucky. So our journey was, we started, one of the things we did right for sure was to actually we could have launched last June, last July, but instead we took the time to spend a lot of time with the merchants and truly understand why they are not using the existing tools in the market, because what we are solving for is nothing new, right? I mean, like I said, it's a very age-old concept. I think it's been there forever, since there was pen and paper or a brain, but somehow tech has not penetrated into masses, right? Like if you look at very respectful, very amazing companies like Journal or Accurate or Zahir, they've all done a brilliant job, but the penetration is still in few tens of thousands. It's not been to millions, right? So we were going after that problem statement and how do we get that. The research really helped, but even then when we launched, midway into surge, I remember, when we launched, we were all like, okay, we are gonna, product market fit will come. Nothing to worry. We're starting already talking big things, thinking big things, next steps. And I remember this conversation with Rajan from Sequoia and Shailendra and others, and they said, just shut the fuck up, stop doing everything else and focus on product market fit. Like stop doing everything else. So we went to sort of our investors with a list of 5 OKRs, very ambitious, big ones. And we came out of that meeting and said, okay, scrap everything. There is one OKR, get product market fit. That's it, right? And we ran a whole exercise internally in the team. We called it Project Rebirth. And that was a time when we felt our competition was also kicking our ass. And so we was like, okay, we need to get reborn and completely flip the sides. And I'm super proud of the team that, everybody just we aligned the whole company in a way that that even the HR's focus was to do something that contributed to product market fit ahead of some other random task, right? Like so you could really realign the whole organization, and that's how we got to that. Primarily, in my view, product market fit is not something that you have once and then you just live forever. It's something that constantly evolves. So today you have product market fit to a certain segment of users with the certain product that you have, but tomorrow you need to go and find. So we look at it in a very concentric circles format. So when we started, we didn't have at all. Then very soon we had like 10-15% of our users. We saw that, okay, these guys like the product, right? But everybody else was leaving. So we went and found the next 5%, next 10% users, and we spoke a lot to them, did a lot of research, and tried to understand why are they dropping off, right? And step by step in concentric circles, we built out things that satisfied the next group of persons. So we went from essentially going through your adjacent circles, right? Like just finding the next adjacent group that can be pulled in, and why are they dropping? Because they've shown so much interest, but still they're dropping off, right? So that was generally the strategy. But then again, like I said, it's a never-ending journey. I mean, you scale further, you have to again find further product market fit in the next segment of users. You have new features, you have new things. Everything you do, you have to keep finding product market fit. So I think if you ask me 10 years from now, I would still be looking for product market fit in something. Yeah.
And because like this is your second startup, right? Would you say targeting the MSME is very different in terms of how you did it before with Fabelio?
Yeah, very much. I mean, everything we are doing now is a completely different experience from my Fabelio experience. The only similarity is in both places you get to interact a lot with. Like back in Fabelio, I used to travel a lot to Cirebon, Tuban, Japara, like pretty much every 2 months. And the merchants you meet there are the same or similar merchants that you meet here. So that similarity exists, but fundamentally as a business model, fundamentally as the strategy, the tactics, the emphasis on product and tech, like everything is basically different, which is why I enjoy it so much, because after a very, very long, tough journey at Fabelio, I wanted to learn something new and different, and going straight back into commerce wasn't. I wanted to build a product-focused business. Yeah, so it's a different experience completely, and specifically from a PMF point of view. In case of Fabelio, our core strength was design, right? We today, if somebody sees a furniture from Fabelio, they would know it's from Fabelio. It's different from IKEA, it's different from Informa, and it's very obvious, right? That sort of design ethics and those softer things. Design, obviously, it's very hard to get that sort of design. I have to thank Marshall for having those skills. But when you have a single app, you cannot really differentiate yourself on 100,000 things, right? So it becomes a lot about micro interactions and micro funnel optimizations, and a lot about understanding very small things about the user. Whereas in Fabelio's case, it was much larger, like your taste, your design sense, and these kind of things, right? Like so definitely very different approach and learning curve.
And I know from your stories that you kind of like went to like market and spoke with the merchants and asked for their feedbacks, right, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you still do that right now?
We do that very aggressively. That is the one thing that makes us really stand out in terms of our understanding of the market. So we came with obviously having 7-8 years of experience knowing the market, but also first we started with speaking 1,052 merchants face to face. That obviously was pre-COVID, right? And now we do that even now very aggressively. We have a dedicated team which is really for user testing, user research, future ideas. Like that team is almost, I mean, our overall team is 35 people, but almost 15 people work in this team, or 12, 10, 11 people work in this team. So there's a very dedicated, concentrated approach. It's very important because minor things matter in when you're so reliant on one product to make your business.
Okay, thank you, Krishnan. So the second question is, what are the challenges in the MSME market? Can we start with Krishnan?